Oh. Hi, Susan. Can you hear us okay? Looks like you're muted.
I'm muted because I have dogs barking downstairs. Apparently everyone left me alone with 3 dogs, and if I'll stay on if they, can you hear them barking?
Not really, no. I don't hear anything right now.
I closed the door and hoping that that would help eliminate eliminate the cacophony of crazy animals.
All right. Well, I was just checking to see if you could hear us okay. We're going to wait a few more minutes to start, even though we do have in-person quorum right now. So we'll wait a few more.
Alrighty, I'm here.
Thanks.
Yeah, they were getting ready for the Olympics last time I was there. I think. So all the signs were bilingual. So that was great. And then they're always helpful. We did it. Even for a second, lost or confused.
They really are. Looks really nice.
Okay. All right. I think everyone's here. So we can now begin if everyone's ready. All right. Holly, do you want to call us to order?
Sure, I will go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we do a joint taking roll and approving minutes. Haven't done that before. Minutes from the last meeting, which it was in November. It's been a while.
Does anyone have any comments or edits to make to the meetings from the November meeting?
I don't, but don't you need to call roll first for the record so that you know who's at the meeting?
Yeah, Holly just offered to do a roll call at the same time as the approval of the minutes.
Didn't hear
so we'll
that.
just-
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll just, once we, if no one has any comments and we move to approve that, we'll just take the roll call then as well.
They were well written and nicely complete. That's my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Getting a little bit better each time, I think. But I'm definitely, always on the lookout for typos or any paraphrasing that I didn't do correctly. So.
I think you made me sound more intelligent than I actually am. I think it's a good minute.
We like that. We like it.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, I will make a motion to approve the minutes. I'm also here. Holly?
All right. Is there a second?
Second, I'm here, Maxwell.
right, there's been a motion to approve and a second. I will now call a roll for approval of the minutes as well as your attendance. So Duncan Campbell,
Yes, here.
Susan Snyder Salmon,
Yes, present.
Holly Root Sturgeon,
Yes, present.
Don Hall,
Yes, present.
Debbie Reed,
Yes, present.
Doug Wilson,
Yes, present.
Devin Blankenship,
Yes, present.
and Don Maxwell.
Yes, present.
Awesome. All right, motion passes 8-0. Okay, the next item on our agenda is administrative business, and the first item is the follow-up to the Monroe County Historic Preservation Board Review membership terms. So the last time we met, we discussed an amended membership term list for active members, because at some point somehow the staggering got messed up with having three board members lapsing in their terms every year. We get too many approaching. So last we spoke, everyone agreed that it looked fine. Of course, Danielle did not want to continue on with her term. So we do have a vacancy currently. And then I've also apparently, I'm not sure if Don Hall and Don Maxwell, if you've received anything yet from the commissioner's offices? Nothing yet?
I got something that said that once we approve you, you'll get your membership, or you'll get your paperwork and
Paperwork.
you can keep on doing what you're doing until you get your paperwork.
Yep, okay, yeah, they, the commissioner's office sent me something that they had in their ordinance or something that said something along the lines of, until you're replaced or your letters come in, you are still able to operate on the board, provide quorum and voting rights. So be on the lookout for that information. Otherwise, I think that's all that we had, except for if anyone has any discussion about someone new to suggest to the commissioners to appoint to this board. I don't know if anyone's given any thought to that or knows anyone who might be interested. So,
And at this point, our balance allows us to select someone from within the city limits.
yes, because Danielle was a resident in the city. That's correct.
Does it have to be that?
No.
I don't believe so, yeah.
No, we eventually just got to the point where the well was running dry and we were like, there are too many people we know who could be of great service to us within the city limits. So as long as we kept it majority county, that was the main thing. So it can always be majority county. It's just the assistance of population of the city.
I have a
I've got
couple
somebody-
people I'm working on as possibles, but they're not viable yet.
Okay,
I got somebody I can ask about it and be interested.
I do have one question about the dates. It's just a curiosity. I would expect it to be 12/31 and not 1/1. Any other commission I've served on, it's always been the end of the calendar year. And I was just curious why it was one. Are all the county boards 1/1?
I don't believe all the county boards are January 1st. I came on and looking at previous lists for terms, it's always been January 1st. I don't know if that's just coming from the commissioner's office.
Is that a termination date or a begin date? I think it's a begin date.
Because it says term expires. So I was curious. It seemed odd.
Okay,
That's the way it was for me.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I know the other parts of the county swear in on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know if that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There might be more language about that in the letters that you, Don will receive about if it says specifically your term began first or whatever will expire. Sure.
We don't tend to get a whole lot done on New Year's Eve, so fortunately, it's not a big point. We got to play. Yeah. That's a good thing to watch.
Okay, well, if no one has anything else for that one, we'll move right along to the next item.
Is this the meeting where we're supposed to re-elect officers? First meeting in January.
Is that typically how you guys do it? Is the first?
Yeah, we try to get it done as early as possible.
Okay, yeah, we can add that into the agenda as an item. Do we want to go ahead and take care of that now?
Sure.
All right, we will entertain any nominations or recommendations.
One of the things, one of the shortcuts we use is we ask the existing president if she wants to do another year. Because it's typical for people to do more than one in a row, but it's certainly not required. We all understand the wanting out.
Everything else is a not it version, but. Yeah,
Done it yet, that was.
yeah.
I'm comfortable staying on through the end of my term, and then I'm gonna see it. Hopefully I can still keep serving on the board, but I already planned on staying through this year.
Okay,
Thank you. Mr. Chair.
I second that motion.
okay,
Yeah, I guess we still have to elect her.
yeah. Great, so there's a motion on the floor to reappoint Polly as chair of the Historic Preservation Board Review. And there's a second, and I'll now take the roll. Susan Snyder Salmon,
I agree. Yes.
okay. Polly Root Sturgeon,
Yes.
Don Hall,
Yes.
Debbie Reed,
Yes.
Doug Wilson,
Yes.
Devin Blankenship,
Yes.
Don Maxwell?
Yes.
Duncan Campbell?
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
Our vice chair right now is Doug. You wanna keep-
You're willing to continue serving as vice chair?
I would unless somebody wants to do it instead.
I say go for it.
It could be a great choice.
So I move that we retain Doug as vice chair.
Motion and a second to retain Doug as vice chair of the Monroe County Historic Preservation Board Review. I'll now take a vote. Roll call. Don Hall,
Yes.
Debbie Reed,
Yes.
Doug Wilson,
Yes.
Devin Blankenship,
Yes.
Don Maxwell,
Yes.
Susan Snyder Salmon,
Yes.
Duncan Campbell,
Yes.
and Polly Ruth Sturgeon.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
Thank you both.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you both.
That was quick and easy. All right. Second item on our agenda for administrative business is this coordination letter with the FHWA project, High Street Multi-Use Path, Monroe County, Indiana. It's on page 10 of your packet. So this one is a recent project that I received notice for, and it is involving a distance of roadway. It's the map on here. From High Street all the way south down close to, I'm forgetting what road is that?
Arden or something?
Yeah, I think
It's down there past Covenanter, isn't it?
yes. So
Childs.
I asked former HP Secretary Tammy Bierman if you guys would like to see this during the meeting. You are listed as a consulting party on the original letter, but it is entirely in the city's jurisdiction. But she stated that there were times in the past where the Monroe County HP board did have comments to provide or information to share regarding projects like this being added as a consulting party. So we can scroll back up to what the gist is for this project. Okay, so construction of a multi-use path on High Street between Arden Drive and 3rd Street. And it's stating that section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act requires agencies to take into account the effects of their undertaking on historic properties. And that the MCHP is one of those entities that received notice.
And let's see, where's the map again? What page was that? That was 15. 15. And do we know which side of the road it's gonna be on?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Right, yeah, so we don't know.
I think there's an underground railroad linked house on
Yeah.
the east side of the street. This is
Kind of terminates almost that water right in.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's further to the west. That's by the Chandler or the cemetery.
because I would say, I mean, if I just had to make a general blanket statement, I would like to see any opportunity for if there's anything educational related to Underground Railroad or the Covenanters. And their history in Bloomington, to watch out for artifacts related to that, and then also if there's able to be an educational piece with the trail.
Like signage.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think depending on where that Underground Railroad, and there might be more than one site affiliated with it, but yeah, I mean, the Covenanters were abolitionists, so there's a whole rich history with Covenanters on the east side there.
It's even black there to that cemetery.
Huh?
There's black side.
Oh, really?
It looks like on the map.
It's down by Henderson.
Is it possible to bring
Does
us?
it not say CEM for cemetery?
Oh, yeah.
Down south.
Close, it kind of, you see the big Ridgemead,
Yes.
and then if you look to the left,
Oh, yeah.
see, isn't that, there's your,
Yeah, and the cemetery is up across the street area.
Covenanters.
There, that little.
Yeah. So, and there's, we have more of our, stone walls, to be
Yeah.
concerned about. So, I mean, it might be worth mentioning that we're doing a big county inventory of stone walls, and so we're especially mindful of not disrupting or stone walls. Yeah, it'd be good to know what side of the street it's on, because even the house there at Atwater and High, with it has structures in the front yard relating to the fencing and stuff like that. They're not just like carefree accessories. They're historic in their own right, so.
They have almost no front yard as it is. According to the letter, they're still shooting elevations and stuff. They haven't, there isn't a design
I
yet.
haven't decided yet, okay. Because, yeah, I would say being sensitive of artifacts that are in the front yards of places, the stone walls and Underground Railroad sites.
Yeah, and they haven't, the preservation consultant has not done a survey yet. So basically at this early stage, first stage, they're confirming that we want to continue to be consulting parties and asking us if there are any sites on this route that we know about.
Yeah. So I'd say yes to consulting party, and we know that there's Underground Railroad, historic Covenanter stuff, and sensitive historic fabric in the front yards of some of these homes. Yeah.
And I would also say that on the other side of the street, on the west side of the street, this is the neighborhood I live in, there are people concerned that if the path is on the west side, that they're going to have no front yard.
Right.
And those houses, just in the defense of the owners, those houses are probably over 50 years old.
Right.
So that's another.
Well, and a lot of those are Sears Roebuck houses. On High Street, there's at least a couple of Sears Roebuck houses in that group too.
Yeah, so there's no good side of the road there.
The Rogers House, which is up
yes.
on the west side, is a historic site. It's a local historic designation.
Very close to the intersection.
It's just south of Atwater, a couple of lots.
In this area.
It's on the west side.
The Rogers house is at the corner of Atwater and High, is it not?
No,
On the east side there?
well, yes, but there's another.
Oh,
Freshman bungalow
Yeah.
where, not the old Rogers, but where, the founder of, Rogers Building Supplies and Rogers Construction.
okay, got it.
On the west side. And I'm almost positive it's a local historic district in the city.
Really cool map.
If you don't tell me your address, I'll figure it out now.
Yeah.
I thought I was scaring people.
Look at your windows too.
Okay, so it sounds like I will work on filing just a brief email stating that we want to remain as a consulting party and include some items that you referenced that are of concern or of at least some things to note as they work to create some sort of project plan. And I'll send that draft to the chair and vice chair for review before sending out, and we'll just operate from there. Okay, all right, that does it for administrative business. Moving on to old business, and we have something that's come up that has not been addressed in a while. And that is the Dry Stone Conservancy Report for the Rumpke Stonewall Preservation and Maintenance Plan. As you all are likely familiar, Rumpke is working on a new facility on the west side of town. And they've had to go through several planning processes to get to this stage. One of the first things they had to do was a conditional use variance, and one of the requirements or conditions of approval within that use variance was the consultation of a professional and the implementation of a stone wall preservation and maintenance plan. So in order for them to receive final occupancy for their project site, they had to complete this step on their conditional use variance. They're not quite at the stage yet to necessarily receive the certificate of occupancy. They're still in the construction phase, build out phase. So they just recently received their preservation plan from their consultant, and they wanted to share that with you all. It's a rather lengthy document. It starts on page 16 and goes all the way to page 60. So I don't know if all of you had time to review it in detail, but I know that I just did a very brief skim over it. But if we have any questions or want to take some more time and meet next month to discuss this, I believe that would be fine because they are still, like I said, not that close to the certificate of occupancy.
Yeah, I would say we can take this month and next month, because it looks like a lot of material to go through.
Okay.
Is there, aside from the stone walls, is there anything we should be particularly vigilant about?
Not that I can remember off the top of my head. It's mostly just a survey of what's there and what they plan to do to preserve it and maintain it. But I can go through with another finer tooth comb and provide some high level points of discussion for next month.
Thank you.
I found it good reading.
Page 37 are the preservation recommendations and the maintenance recommendations. The rest of it's pretty much narrative about what's happened up to this point. The early assessment. rest of it after that is pretty much a condition report, locating missing pieces. Several pages of photographs. But the crux of it is page 37 and 8. No, I'm sorry, it's 37 primarily.
Give an estimate of $10,000 annually to stabilize the wall. In 3 years. 30,000. On page 59.
That's nice to hear.
So mostly just keeping trees out of it.
Rebuilding some parts too.
Can you educate me regarding when this all gets done and the permission to use the site is granted? How is this agreement enforced or monitored?
That's a good question. I'd want to talk with either the assistant director or planning director about that. They're more focused on the enforcement side of things, especially with these types of agreements. I don't know what sort of enforcement action we would have. But I'm certain that there is some form of that in the legal department if they were to not follow with what they're promising. So I'll add that as a note.
I guess I would throw it out to Duncan in particular and Devin or anybody that has that depth of institutional knowledge. Can you guess on how many sites exist where there's an agreement to maintain and or perhaps even rebuild as needed, as is indicated in this document? About how many of those are out there, and do we have any mechanism for reporting that there is compliance? Is that just water that goes under the bridge?
My understanding is that it has traditionally been when we designate a property, that's when we have the authority of enforcement. And usually the notion of enforcement doesn't come back until they're asking for something else. So there's not necessarily strong monitoring of properties. It's more like, let's say the Morrises came in and wanted to do something with their farmhouse, and oh, by the way, they tore down their barn and did something else. Then we might say, well, we're not going to grant you a certificate of appropriateness because you've damaged the property, to X amount, and in fact, you need to try to get it back to where it was before. This, I think the tricky thing with this is that if we're not designating anything, it's just a good faith gesture. Very good faith gesture. I mean, it's an expensive gesture. But then it makes me wonder, is there a way for us to subdivide a parcel that is truly just the wall and designate that? Because then we would have it, once it's designated, it falls into a different category than just hey, somebody was nice because they have an old wall on their property, which is I think where it is right now. They're being very nice about it, and cooperative. But as far as enforceability, I don't know. Duncan, what do you think?
Well, yeah, you're right in the differentiating this between a designated site and in the sense that we don't have the authority as a commission, but the planning department is made this contingent upon their certificate of occupancy. So I assume the planning would have the same enforcement regulations they would in any certificate of occupancy. If you violate the requirements of occupancy, you're liable, basically. So with the other thing that sometimes we do, Susan, is include a clause in that is that is essentially a commitment. I'm trying to think of what document it would appear in. It could appear in an agreement with this document. That committing the owner to maintenance agreement as stipulated in the document. So they would obviously have to sign off on that, but that would be, it's easier to enforce if there's a commitment like that. In some, basically, we're talking about this is usually done in preservation via deed covenants. And so those travel with the ownership of the property. So I thought the question you were gonna ask is what happens when Rumke leaves?
Well, that was later, but I can't
Yeah,
imagine
that's
them
another
leaving.
issue. So, for instance, in the case of Bloomington Restorations, when they do when they have a lending program where they lend money to an owner to rehabilitate their house or Indiana landmarks, they include deed covenants as a condition of the loan, and those covenants require that the structure be maintained in perpetuity by whoever owns it, and then it's registered on the deed. They do a quick claim and a reclaim deed, so it goes onto the deed, and then it's not up to the owner, it's up to all owners. That's the most foolproof way to do it. So in this case, you know, the tightest way to do this would be to have them agree to bind the deed in some way. In other words, to covenant the wall to protect it, but that's not something we've discussed, and it's not something I'm sure that the city even has the power to do, but or the county. But that's a typical way to ensure that these preservation practices persist.
Well, as my mind circles around all the issues, this is a great partner here who's doing the right thing right now with current business leadership. And as that company changes focus, I can just see that it's forgotten and becomes overgrown within 5 years. I'm wondering, I guess what I'm really asking is there some way is there an authority within the county to have some perpetual oversight? And you've explained some of that, although we apparently don't do anything like that. We've never done anything like that that we're aware of.
If we wanted to do that, we'd have to designate the site.
Okay.
What was asked was whether there might be a way to just designate the wall as opposed to the entire site, because the site itself probably doesn't meet the requirement of historic districting.
Right.
That's a lot of land with one wall, yeah. So, and I mean, this kind of is a precursor to our larger discussion about the walls countywide. It's how we, how would we designate the walls countywide? Would we have, narrow designation, like physically narrow designations, or, would be looking parcel by parcel or within the county right of way, or, those sorts of things. And so, I mean, they are cooperative enough with us that we might be able to say, okay, like one last step, we just need, the protection of the parcel, with the wall. But I can't remember how large this entire parcel is. I'm sure it's gigantic. So to designate the whole thing for the wall might seem like a bit of overkill.
Is there any prior request of someone upon occupancy to send an annual letter regarding their compliance?
We send an annual letter to all designated property owners.
But this would not be that,
Right.
this would not fall into that category, right, Polly?
Correct.
Yeah, only if they designate the wall, and then they'd be the owners of the designated property, and so then it would be,
The letter.
then they get the letter.
Just seems that we've come so far and had so much progress, and then they can just ignore it from here out. That's reality, right? Am I missing something?
Well, and then the other thing too is that just kind of in our overall theme as a board and as a county, we we either don't have teeth in certain instances or we don't use them in others. So there probably are things that we could do that we haven't done before. If this were to be violated, but if this isn't an agreement with our board, then all we can do is advocate. Yeah, so I mean, if we went down there one day and we're like, hey, the stone wall is gone, we'd have to probably cause quite a ruckus at the in the county to get anything reversed or overturned or boot them out or, you know, whatever. I think that'd be a pretty big to do. So yeah, I would say if there's any way for us to designate it or for them to designate it through something like BRI and have covenants on it, just so it's protected. But I think that wouldn't that require subdividing unless we were doing the entire parcel?
I know that there are some capabilities for designating certain structures on a particular parcel. I don't know if a wall, I guess, I mean, a wall would be considered a structure.
Yeah.
So, you know, we could look into talking about and, you know, designating just the wall. And maybe that's something that we talk about more too in the new ordinance about, you know,
Right.
facilitating that type of.
Yeah, and that goes in that category of like, we haven't done that before, to my knowledge, where we've just designated a structure on a parcel of land. We've always done the whole parcel. So that, I think that'd be worth exploring in this case, especially as we're talking about walls around the rest of the county too.
We've got some detailed description of the
Yeah,
structure now.
yeah, almost got more detail than anywhere else, so. Yeah, no, this is almost a good model for us to be looking at the other one, so yeah, I'd say if we could explore what it would take to. Because, you know, we all know also that at the county level, you know, there's turnover within our offices too, so. To expect that 10 years from now, somebody's gonna remember this case. Is expecting a lot.
To remind everyone of something I said before, on Bales Road, coming off Business 37 North, a wall went down in 2 days. That's how quick, yeah.
So now you can't even tell unless you knew it was there. You can't even tell it was there.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Did they carry the stone away? Because sometimes they use it for other stuff.
It was for flattening out. Which is, you know, at least it was used, but oh my goodness,
Yeah.
you know, no one will ever,
Made your own stone.
oh my,
Steel.
oh yeah. I think there were a lot of people, if they would have known that was gonna happen, they would have given them stone instead of the wall going down, seriously.
There is a provision in the National Register for multiple property listings, which is a catch-all for similar properties. It's used in some areas for churches. It's used, especially if they're in particularly significant era.
Isn't that how Maple Grove was last?
No, it's a rural historic district. It's all, it includes all, but the whole, all the physical, it's all within a physical boundary. But the multiple property listings tend to be unit sites independent from one another, but that share the same historic significance. And that's a National Register process. We don't have that capability locally under either of our ordinances. I'm pretty sure.
I know, and that's where I'm hoping, outside of this particular project, that between Maple Grove Historic District already being designated and county right of way being where most of the stone walls probably fall within county right of way with the current county right of way. What we might be able to do with contiguous sections of wall.
Yeah, although lots of walls are on private property.
Yeah.
Sure they are.
Is this wall that we're talking about here, isn't it connected with the house that's across the road as part of that bigger property?
Yeah, part of the Stip Bender, original Stip Bender farm, yeah.
Well, that's an interesting concept. I thank you, Duncan. The rural historic district concept is interesting.
Yeah, that was the Maple Grove Road was the first one in Indiana. There are a couple more now. They're not real common. But again, that's National Register listing, so it's not a protection.
Right.
So it doesn't, those walls are all in that listing, included in it, but they're not protected by it.
Well, they're only protected at the federal level, right? I mean, so,
Well, like if there's a 106 review, like we just
Yeah.
reviewed for this sidewalk.
yeah.
But only if federal money is used to disturb them.
Federal will protect them.
No,
Local will, but not federal.
right.
Well, and also while we're vaguely on this topic, one of the things I brought up at BRI the other night is that when we look at places like Ellettsville doesn't have historic preservation designation. So anything that Ellettsville is annexing in, there's not a parallel entity to take on historic preservation. So when you look at things like Matthews Mansion, you know, that's one where we firmly have to keep in the county unless we can confidently hand it off to them, right? Because there's not, if they don't have any. Yeah, and so then the other tool for that is something like BRI, like, you know, BRI bought a house in downtown Ellettsville. And so BRI can exist within Ellettsville's jurisdiction, but like, as far as what we do here, any properties like, let's say, for example, the Stout House, it might be a matter of 5 years before Ellettsville's like, oh yeah, we want to annex that whole, you know, that whole area. And that's then a conversation we have to have with our historic preservation board, and then the fact that there's a lack of that in Ellettsville.
Does it remind me again of the date of your talk on stone walls at the History Club?
It'll be the last Tuesday in May. I've got a lot of research going on and
Right, May. I thought it was March. It's May, right?
May, and I've got a photographer and I are going out early next month on some nice sunny days to hit everything that we can find. I do, and this is not related to the question du jour, but I have looked tirelessly for this wall that's supposed to be just west of Bolton House off of Bethel. And oddly enough, I used to live in the house at Happy Hollow and Bethel, which is right there. My husband seems to remember in walking the dog, seeing a bunch of crumbling rocks, maybe between our backyard and our neighbors. Has anyone actually seen that wall?
I have not seen that one. I mean, the one that I know of is, of course, around the church, Bethel Church, but that's quite a ways down.
Oh yeah, that's way down. Then there's some more walls, of course, on Hinkle Road before you get to Griffey. So you know that's all sort of the same, probably the same time period. But it's listed on all of the documents, but I cannot find the wall. So I thought what I might do was just get a hold of that landowner, and if they don't shoot me,
Yeah.
maybe see if I can. Okay, on Bethel, stay right there. You see where it says, you see where the yellow writing is with the barn? Go to the left, and that green road going north is a Bolton House. All right. And then on over the next road, which is half a block to the west, move back down. Keep the green. Yeah, the intersection of the green and green is Bolton House and Bethel. Where you have your finger, that's the house we owned. You won't see it now because we haven't owned it since the 70s. But there's a line of trees. You see the two cars that cut through where the red line is. I think that's where it must be, because it says it's just west of Bolton House and just north of Bethel. And that's all there is. I mean, that's the only place is hidden in that brush. And I thought it'd make a great photo to show what happens when you forget that there's a historic wall there. Anybody ever seen that in person? The wall that's supposedly there?
You're saying it's not there anymore?
Well, I don't know. The only thing I see is brush.
Oh, I thought you had gone out and looked.
Now, my husband says that he thinks he remembers a crumbling, I mean, but this is back in the 70s, come on. But that would have been our backyard, and I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know there's a wall there, if indeed there is. I mean, it would make sense because that's all farm area there.
When's the last time it was reported being seen?
Well, it's in all of the lists that I have from anybody that I've collected as to where they are. And I don't know what those are dated, Debbie, or was that Polly?
That was Polly.
Yeah, I don't know when those are dated. It's just, I have a list of every known quote unquote stone wall in the county, and this location is there. I mean, you can't change the information. It's west of Bolton House, north of Bethel, and just west of Bolton House. That's where it's got to be. So it's either totally gone or it's in that line of brush. So I thought of what I would do, because I want to get pictures of what it looks like when you forget that there's a wall. If those people would be kind enough, or one of those two property owners, I'll get a hold of, whoever's amenable, and go poking around with permission.
I will add the friendly reminder too, that we did share that Google document or Google Sheets that has dry stone locations on them. So if you do remember, if you check that out again, if you know of any locations, add them to that list, or if you come across any, try to get a close by address and include them on that
Yeah,
list.
I'll take a picture and we'll have GPS information on it.
Perfect.
Also, just to recirculate it into the general knowledge, many years ago, Cheryl Munson was touting the fact that her husband is very good at finding gravestones and the like buried in the woods from his raccoon hunting endeavors. And so I would say if we know of any stone walls that might be hard to find in the woods, we might be able to approach the Munsons on any of their knowledge on best ways to locate in wooded areas. So.
Well, the list is small. We're going to go around and hit each one of those locations and take pictures of what it looks like today for the presentation, because I think that'll be of the best help for those who are attending, because they'll have seen, and there is, Debbie, there's still partial wall there, just west of Business 37. I saw it the other day with all the leaves down. There's a pretty good chunk of wall still there, which surprised me. I was real happy to see that. But I think most people probably never even recognized it was there. So I think that, this group will be very interested in letting us know if they've tromped through the woods, as you said, and know that there's remnants of a wall.
Susan, I think you have two owners there, what you're talking about. One that's remaining, but it's covered with lots and lots of, overgrowth. I think it would belong to Hillendale. And then the other that's been cleared just recently, I believe Dr. Shabarami's wife, the late Dr. Shabarami, so the widow. But as a matter of fact, she has hired some people just recently to do lots of clearing. So you might be talking about two owners there.
Oh, okay. That's probably it.
One you can hardly see, and that's I don't think she owns that. I think Hillendale or something like that.
Okay. Well, and where our plan is to, for safety's sake, I'm only going to shoot what's available from the street, the road. We're not going to go into private property except this location if I can get a hold of those folks. But it does look like that all might belong to the Happy Hollow address, which was the house we owned. So. Thanks for all of that discussion.
Of course. All right.
I just noticed in the report from the Dry Stone Conservancy that they're recommending a public-private partnership as a useful mechanism for the long-term preservation of the wall. It would be mutually beneficial for Rumpke to enter into agreement with the Dry Stone Conservancy for assistance in the administration of this preservation plan. They're actually suggesting that, I'm just skimming it, but they're suggesting that Dry Stone oversee the maintenance, long-term maintenance of the wall and be allowed to use it for training sessions and they just say programming to actively maintain the wall. Each spring and fall, the Dry Stone Conservancy could conduct a work day to reset copes and clear vegetation, et cetera.
Wonderful.
No.
I saw that too, and I thought that was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, so
If they would agree to
that's-
that.
That's a great solution. If we could just get Dry Stone to sign on to all of Monroe County.
Well, then that would give us more opportunity to partner with them on our bigger project.
Yeah. Now, if I run away here in a couple minutes, are we good on voting numbers?
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure that I'm not,
You good with all of your project
yes.
things to discuss that? Okay.
All right, moving on, we have our next item in the old business, which is the NDOT early coordination letter for the road project along State Road 46 that goes through Monroe County into Brown County. Page 61. All right, so I don't have any specific updates from the project coordinator yet from this one. Our last meeting, we talked about getting some information out to them regarding some historical items that may be impacted, that we want to remain a consulting party. I communicated to them that we want to remain a consulting party, but we do still want to compile more detailed response regarding that geological formation that's out there, as well as any other specific locations that anyone has had the opportunity to pinpoint, so that we can make sure that those items get included in their project and are protected, that sort of thing. So does anyone have any updates that they want to share, or any further review that they've done, or thoughts that they want to share regarding that project? It's been keeping you up at night or anything like that? I know that they don't intend on, I don't think they intend on starting the project until, I think it's the fall of 2024 is the last time I think I looked. But we certainly want to stay in contact. And like I said, I haven't received anything else from them aside from our preliminary communication. So something to keep on the agenda, at least I think, until we get that more detailed email to them. And from there, it'll just be every once in a while whenever I receive updates from them. All right, if no one has anything on that one, we'll move to the next one, which is the Bloomington Hobbs Tower project, the historical properties review, page 62. And this one's kind of the same boat, although we have provided a message to the project coordinator that Monroe County Historic Preservation Board review just simply objects to the project at its current location. So we are waiting for any type of response from them. Last time we talked about this, we talked about how many sort of resources were in the area, and that simply objecting was the best pathway forward, and that would likely trigger some sort of collaboration or coordination with that project coordinator. So I don't have anything else to mention other than that for this one.
I can't remember where it's all located again.
It is located.
Water tower line, what's on 69 on the side.
Oh, yeah, actually.
Getting close to Morgan County.
The physical address is 8111 North Lee Fall Road.
So around school, it's Chapel.
Yes, correct.
Let's go.
Yep. Okay. No one has anything else on that one. We'll move to our only new business item, which is the 2023 work plan. So I just included last year's work plan as kind of the template. But I note that we have like an approved date on the work plan from 2022. So you know, I wasn't on as secretary at that time, so I'm not sure how you guys handle the work plan. Is it something that is new to you and that it was adopted in 2022 and you kind of just, you know, add on things, or at least in this format?
It was
It's
largely the same.
ongoing.
It's ongoing. Okay, so I can just change the date maybe up there to 2023 work plan and just,
Yeah,
okay,
we get it done.
all right, yeah, okay,
Or if we want to change anything, yeah.
sure, okay.
I remember that in January, Danielle stepped down as chair. We kind of said, let's see if anybody self-nominates. That didn't happen. So we did that in February, and then that's why this was in March.
Gotcha.
Got pushed back a little bit.
Okay, thank you for that.
Any updates to the Limestone Heritage project?
I had asked Drew to send Don and me a copy of the demolition delay ordinance from the city, which he did. And I haven't done anything on it since then. But now that I have it in my hands and Don does too, I guess we need to.
I just wrote down a little bit like outline kind of thing.
You did from looking at that.
Actually, I was looking at the flow chart up there. I printed out what you sent me.
Mhm.
It's sitting right there on the printer. I didn't go get it. I started looking at the flow chart and just writing stuff out. I'll look at it.
Okay, we need to look at it, and then I guess we're gonna have to break down and actually meet together.
We can do that.
Hammer some kind of outline out. But that's where we're at.
The letter again, it's.
Yes, I think we do.
Mhm.
So the number 5 property owner notice, we got it out a little late last year. I think I'd like to try to get it out in February if we could.
I think it was really well done.
I don't think there's any new, well, I don't know if any properties have changed owners, but there's no new properties.
Trying to think, I think we might have one new property from last year, and that was, trying to remember the name of it. It's on Maple Grove.
Is that the barn over by Ellisville?
I think so. It was a location that was rated outstanding.
That bed and breakfast one.
No, it wasn't a bed and breakfast. It had an old print shop on it and some dry stone wall and old style home. Oh man, I forget the name of it. Owen's house.
Yeah, that's it.
That one got designated. So,
So we need to add them to the list.
yeah, I imagine that there's some list in the planning files that we probably use.
There is, and then there's a letter that
Okay,
I can dig up what we did last year and send that to the subcommittee members.
okay,
And then
It's a good letter.
and then I believe we just handed over to you
okay.
to be sent out.
If I could see last year's letter, I'll just tweak it slightly, like
That's what I think.
maybe just adjust
I'll send it.
that or something, so it looks like
Right.
put a new date on it.
Okay.
You put a date,
We'll put the names.
but it was a good letter. It was, you know,
Yeah.
it's a good letter, so.
This will be I think the 3rd time we'll send out a letter, which is great.
Just a good reminder.
Mhm.
Okay.
Uh,
Anything that's crossed out besides Danielle's name probably could be uncrossed out because we'll have to.
Right.
If we know what's going to happen
Okay,
in the next year, I mean, Limestone Festival,
I
TBD,
think it's gonna happen again. I just need to start planning. Yes, that should happen again.
Polly, is there a proposed date on that?
Give me a second. Yes. June 10th. So I'll be in San Francisco on the 3rd.
They have broken legs.
It was the first Saturday in May last year, wasn't it?
It was the first Saturday in June
Oh.
to correspond with Limestone Month in the county, but I will be out of town on the first Saturday of June this year, so we're gonna make it the second Saturday.
Do we want to plan to do something similar to what we did last year?
I think that would be great. Did a great job.
She said, looking around for her calendar. Ah,
Evan and Susan had a tent with information set up about her properties and dry stone, and if you know any information, contact Susan about dry stone walls. It was in the field behind the geology building,
Okay.
and we had other local organizations there talking about all different aspects of limestone.
I would say that Limestone Heritage Project at number one, we just need to keep leaning on the county website person who just seems to have refused to do anything we asked her to do about a year ago. I don't know what the glitch is there, but I know Danielle was so frustrated, she stopped bringing it up.
can, does anyone have enough knowledge about to run it by me? Cause I can kind of like, you know, at least being somewhat tech savvy, like understand what you guys are trying to accomplish and then.
Well, there was just more information that Danielle had given to, I can't remember.
Her name was Wendy,
Uh-huh.
and we had a meeting in person, Wendy, Danielle and I, and that meeting was a very positive meeting. And it seemed like things were going forward. And then all at once, it just flatlined.
Just
you know.
never did any of it. And the excuse has been, it's too much to do and she's too busy and,
Mhm.
but it's not right. I mean, it takes this long. I mean, it's crazy.
Okay, so maybe I.
Part of the whole Limestone Heritage Site project was that we would continuously update it and keep bringing in new information. And so we're completely dependent upon county staff to do that. And,
Yeah,
somebody needs to
And we also had
help
those
our fingers.
beautiful rec cards.
Yeah,
And I think we still have bunches of rec cards and they never were distributed to the schools like we had planned. And I know everybody can say COVID, 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 but I don't think that was really the purpose of everything. So
I brought them to the town's tourism board out on Old 37. And I have them up at the geological survey, but I can try to get them out to some schools.
that'd be great. That'd be great. We were even gonna have a launching. We talked about that. So Drew, do I understand that you're going to contact? Okay.
yeah, I can just, initiate contact and be like, hey, at the last meeting, board talked about, touching on this project again, where do we stand? What was requested? Can staff be of any assistance? That sort of thing.
And please convey to her that I will be more than willing to meet with her
Okay.
morning, afternoon, evening to get things moving forward if she has any time.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah.
do we know of any teachers that have actually utilized the curricula that's there? Part of the answer may be to engage those individuals who've used the information and find a way to promote with that experience. Do we know who's used it? Do we have that kind of information?
I don't know of anyone personally. I know that the people at Ball State who helped develop it have tried to keep it alive in their own education school as a resource. You know, it's on a list of their educational resources that they use with their student teachers and stuff, but I don't know, have any record. We've never set up any way to record if people have picked it up and used it in their classrooms.
Okay.
Not sure how we would do that.
Well, we reach out and ask is one way.
Ask all the public school teachers in Monroe County. Who do you ask?
Maybe put something on the site where the curricula are listed.
If you've used this, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you've used, or any comments about this, maybe that would be a way to get some feedback. Yeah.
But there should be a way technology, gives us this option, Drew, for somebody who has gotten information to have a button there that says, would you like more information? Let us know how you use this. You have any feedback? But I don't see that sort of interactive opportunity on the site.
No, you're right. It's not there.
Does the county have Google Analytics? We see what pages people are using.
I don't know if we have that, but I do know that we have, there is some capacity to like add comments and feedback. It's just, where does that get channeled? Does that get channeled to sort of preservation officer or just TSD, or if there's, some other contact that is like the head of, the project or group that would receive that feedback.
I'm also wondering, I personally found some of the detail of the curricula challenging. I'll just put it that way. I'm wondering, do we have a mechanism to go back to the folks at Ball State, and if they've made changes based on their experiential use of it, to make sure that we're incorporating that learning into our curricula? Is there any of that going on?
That was developed in partnership with a specific classroom curriculum at Ball State with a specific professor who, was willing to use it as a class project, and they developed all this curriculum. But to my knowledge, there's never been any repetition of that class or, I don't know. I mean, I could contact him. He was one of the people who partnered with our Limestone Heritage effort, and we had several partners who did certain things, and that was what he offered to do. I could go back to him and see if there's ever been any follow-up or feedback or.
I think that would be great if you would be willing to do that.
Sure, he's a friend of mine. I can call.
What learning did they get from it, and is there anything from that learning that we can use to enhance what we have that's there? I think that would be really good information.
Well, the learning that they got from it was a class assignment. And so whatever research they did, that's what they learned. Whether that's been evaluated in terms of how teachers use it or students have received it, that probably never happened. But I'll ask him.
And I wonder if there's a way to ask school systems if anyone has used it. I'm sure there's a way. It's just something, would we want to pursue that just locally even to see if anybody's used it?
Something I've found successful with my teaching of earth science is to not only create the curriculum, but if you just put it out there, it kind of goes into the void, right? There's a lot of stuff on the internet. But then to hold a workshop to show them how to use it. Because like you said, there's questions, some of it gets complicated. And so if we show them how to use it, that would need to be like a 1 or 2 day workshop. And teachers nowadays are usually paid to go to these kinds of workshops, especially around here with IU, they're usually given a stipend to attend.
as a teacher, every 5 years you have to earn professional growth points, they call it. You have to have 90 of them. And it's supposed to be based on hours of what you've done. So if you could offer 5 hours, 10 hours for a teacher to do a 1 or 2 day thing, it makes it worth the teacher's while to do that, because it's, check some boxes and get some closer to a license renewal.
I'm certified to offer those professional growth points.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's
And
wonderful.
Polly, a beautiful place to do that would be your building with that new learning lab.
Yeah,
Because that's a wonderful combination of efforts. And boy, if we could pursue something like that for the, 2024 or even, yeah, I think it'd have to be 2024 because you have to be way ahead of calendar on stuff like this. That's a neat idea.
I remember we were going, and it was somewhat board wide, we were going to try a launch, a countywide launch. We hadn't determined whether we were going into the, grade schools, middle school, high school. I think the program's set up for grade school. So, yeah. Okay.
There's like 3 different curriculums.
But, yeah, true. But I don't think that ever happened. I don't think we reached our audience. I think what Doug and Polly, and Susan, I think it'd be wonderful, Duncan, I think it'd be wonderful, credit this teachers, pull them in. They would be more inclined to do that. That would be fantastic. But I don't think they really know it's available. I really don't.
Well, that's right, because that launch was going to be a simultaneous
Yes,
event where we talked, that's where we had the cards made for as handouts.
Yes.
And we were going to launch the website. The website,
so I-
again, never
Yes.
got satisfactorily mounted
exactly.
and usable to the extent that we expected it to. And so it never, but in a way, it's waiting on Wendy.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
why Danielle was so frustrated.
I don't think teachers will find our website. Some will, but if you did an event and you sent messages to the school, send them to all your staff, we're offering this PGP opportunity. People, we get those things in our email, and that's how we figure out how we're gonna get our points. So you'll get some interest from that, just because people need to,
And then it goes by word of mouth.
yeah.
Yeah, you'd start. All we need to do is start, and I don't think we ever got started based on what y'all have just described as over the period of the last 4 years here. It's just, it got launched in a black hole.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, I love doing teachers workshops. I will put it on my to-do to look up what I could do from the survey side. And I think that'd be a partnership with the board.
I think we need to
That's great.
talk to Wendy or someone like that and get this thing.
Yeah. Got 2 teachers on the board, we can. have School teachers.
And particularly ask about timing. I mean, because I would think that, I know that teachers in my family spend their summers writing the curricula for the next year. So even now, I mean, we'd be looking at 2023, 24.
Yeah, I think that the June date lends itself more to teachers doing things than, school children that are out of school.
Yeah, I think that instead would work. Open with Limestone Festival and our Limestone Month.
Right.
Sense.
I think we need to get a new board member. Got a lot to do. Do some recruiting.
Does anyone want to add themselves to one of the subcommittees or take themselves off?
Well, I'm willing to help on this one, on the,
Number 1,
the Limestone Heritage Project. I think I already am, so.
I was gonna ask to take myself off of number 3 and add on to number 1, just so it's a little more even.
That sounds fine. The
And
community side.
I'm wondering with the work that I'm doing on dry stone walls this time around, would someone want to swap out or change with me on dry stone walls? Because I think a lot of what I'm gonna come up with for May is applicable to meet some of where we're trying to go with the four things under number 2.
I could switch you off, onto number 4. You want number 2.
Well, I'm also interested in number 4, so I guess it would be where it makes the most sense.
We can't have 5 people on a subcommittee, right?
Yeah, you have to limit it to 4.
You can just add me to 4 if you want to. Okay, it should be on that one.
And I'll just throw out there, I know Duncan's aware of the recent rediscovery of a log home of his pretty good historic significance in downtown Martinsville, where my husband and I lived for 30 years there. We were shocked. I was shocked to learn that there's absolutely no city or county historic preservation boards of any kind in place. What previously existed for a period of time was just a voluntary community organization, which when the primary mover of that group left town, that's just sort of failed to exist. And the discovery of this log cabin, once they removed the concrete facade, was the cabin has significance historically in a lot of different ways for the community, and the city just quickly took it down and moved it with fait accompli. I mean, it was just done. I am really interested in the demolition delay concept. If I could be of help there, I am willing to at least do what I can.
Okay.
It was a very sad situation. It's tragic.
So that looks like every one of these items has a number that's less than 5, other than number 2. Doug, are you comfortable with me removing you from that list? Is that all right?
That's fine.
Maintaining the 4, okay. Does anyone have anything else? I think that's it for our agenda this evening.
I want to announce, or I will announce, that the Indiana Barn Foundation won a preservation education grant. Indiana Humanities / Indiana Landmarks. It's a $2,500 matching grant, and we were awarded to build 2 model barns that will be used as demonstration barns at public events. Oh, cool. So we're underway. We have an architect on our board who's doing construction drawings at scale, so that we can use those as for display as well. But they're also actually construction plans, which that will be in a digital form that we can supply to anybody else who wants to build these models. That's so cool.
Cool.
And then I'm going to build the 2 models that we have proposed for the grant that the Barn Foundation will use when it's traveling, exhibits and stuff like that. It's going to be fun to do.
How big will the models be?
Well, they're at most a 1-inch scale, which would be 1 inch equals a foot. So you'd have let's say on an English barn, you'd have about a 40-inch long structure by 30 inches. If you had a bigger one, it'd be even bigger, but it has to be able to sit on a tabletop.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to pick it up.
Yeah, be able to pick it up. They're being designed in self-contained cases. So it'd be kind of like an artist portfolio that like, except they'll be a thin plywood. And one side of that case will be the platform upon which the barn is assembled.
You kind of open it up.
And I would like to just open it up. It's reading cards. Some of it's pre-assembled so that whoever is taking it to an exhibit will just be able to set up certain things. The bents are already pre-assembled, so you can set them up right into the platform, and then the connector pieces just be added, and then the roof rafter systems are just plates basically that will be laid on top. So you should be able to assemble it in 5 minutes. But it's not something for participants to learn how the thing is constructed, but what the framing diagram is. And then there are some accompanying larger scale joinery models to show how a pegged mortise and tenon joint works, or a dropped tie beam joint, or there's 3 or 4 joints that we're designing to. So those you could actually take off and play with them. So you could use it as a teaching device. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I haven't built anything that's little for a long time.
Well, congratulations on that, Grant.
That's very cool.
You know. And I think the second round of that grant just got opened. Maybe some of you got notices from the DNR. But they do that twice a year. You can apply in the fall and then again in February, that grant. And it's really not that competitive. I mean, it's competitive, but there's a lot of money because it's federally financed through NEH. So there's small grants, but just about any project, any educational type project you can dream up, that it's pretty easy to get. The Barn Foundation, I think this is their second or third one in as many years. So we used it to publish a barn typology book that's on Indiana barns. Which anybody wants one, I got a carload of them. They're sitting out in the parking lot.
What's it cost?
Yeah, free.
I want one.
I want one.
They're handouts that it's a booklet that we published that has all the major types of descriptions of all the major types of Indiana barns.
That'd be great.
Very, very nice.
It's very cool. Yeah, that's it.
Very nice.
So when I do site visits and evaluations, we always give them to, whoever the barn owner is. And then whenever we have meetings or anything, we give them out to the public, and then they're all over the place. I mean, they're at the visitor center. We ordered like 10,000 of them. Because the grant paid for the publishing. It wasn't that expensive to publish it. So we got a lot of them.
Great. Well, it's all.
So anyway, that's a really good grant. I mean, and it's available to nonprofits, so cities can use it too. So this board could apply for one if they might have a project. And we did apply for, that is the grant we used to build the website.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. All I got.
Anyone else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Yeah. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you so much, Phil.
All right, let's roll it down, get down to the parking lot.
Yeah, I got it.
Thanks, Susan.
We need to make
Thank you,
a
Susan.
look. We're taking from the other back.
Yeah.
In the dark parking lot.
He opens up his big overcoat.
I did used to work in a factory in Indianapolis, and he said you could pretty much buy anything